All right, we're back. This is going to be video recap number 2. I'm just going to read through my tutorial, and I might screw up. I already did, actually. All right, so I have a performance of Mary Had a Little Lamb. It's epic. And as you can tell, the timing's pretty bad. It's horrible. And I've got some bad notes in there that we'll get rid of. So I'm going to talk about how to edit your MIDI tracks. I mean, theoretically, you can edit it so you have a perfect performance, so to speak. So there's any number of ways you can get to the editor's window on the MIDI track. So you can go up to the little pencil icon here, click on it, and it will open the window up. You can also type E on your computer keyboard. That will open the window up. Or you can just double click on the MIDI data in the track, and that will open it up. So any of the above methods will open up the editing window. You can also expand or contract the window by grabbing this right here up top. You can also zoom it or horizontally by grabbing this and doing this button. This will expand it out a little bit. So any number of ways that you do that, you can get to the editing window. So let's fix the bad performance of Mary Had a Little Lamb. So remember the metronome icon that we talked about, and we turned it off earlier. We're going to turn it on now. You can leave the count in on, doesn't matter, because we're not going to be recording anything for this. But if you listen to the click and how my performance lines up with the click, it's not going to be so good. Okay. In music, timing's everything. Rhythm, everything. So you want to try to line this up and get this to work, in time. When musicians play together, they're in time, either with a conductor or a drummer who is a conductor, right? So I'm going to talk about this in non-musical terms, or try to break this down as simplistically as possible. So, so if you look at the counter window up here, we have some information. So the first thing you have are bars, and bars are basically notated or looked at in Performer as, oh my gosh, can't speak this morning, in GarageBand as up top you have numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, yada yada yada. These are bars, and if you'll notice, the bars in this case are broken down into beats, and these represent beats. In this case, we're in 4/4 time, and what that means is there's 4 beats in each bar for the quarter note. So the top number is number of beats, the bottom number is the beat, the musical notation that's getting the beat. I'm not going to go into that. That's music theory. We won't cover it. Same with C major. I'm not going to go into major, minor keys. That's more music theory. Now, you have something called a tempo. And tempo is basically how fast these beats progress. So right now, the tempo is set at 122. If I were to click on this and type in 60, I'm going to slow the tempo down, and you'll hear that the performance or the beats get slower. If I were to take this up to, I don't even know if we can go to 300. Let's try it. Oh, we can. Go to 300. You're now going to see that it's pretty quick. Okay. We don't need it that fast. So I'm going to keep it at about 100. And again, for this, you can just experiment with whatever tempo sounds good to you. And by the way, I'm starting and stopping this performance. I think I covered this in the last video with the space bar. And if you have a numerical keyboard, I'm hitting 0 to rewind it all the way back to the beginning. All right. So you can also grab the playhead and move it around, thusly, anywhere in this. So we'll talk about, that's an easy way just to start a performance somewhere. Like if I wanted to start it in my 2 clams here, I could just move it around. Let's make it a little faster than 1. Let's go to 120 for the sake of progressing this through a little quicker. All right, next on my lovely things, I've talked about changing tempo. Sorry, I'm getting to my thing here. Oh, um, yeah. Speaking about tempo in performance, whenever I want to put in a difficult piano part that I can't play in physically. I mean, I'm a functional pianist, but not a super pianist. I will play it in very slowly. I'll put the metronome down to 60 and play it in very slowly. Then I'll bump it back up to its original tempo, in this case 120, and then all of a sudden, wow, I'm a great pianist, theoretically, right? So that's a trick that you can use. Play everything in slowly, then bump the tempo back up. The other superpower in GarageBand is Command Z. Command Z. That will undo. Oh, I use that so many times. If you make a mistake, just Command Z it. So to change your, I didn't talk about this, but to change your time signature, all you have to do is click on it, and you have some common time signatures here. And again, I'm not going to go into this too in depth. 3/4, you probably, well, your generation maybe not. Waltz tempo, boom, chick, chick, boom, chick, chick. 4/4 is what we're used to, more common time. And then there's other time signatures that are more common. I'm not going to talk about them. 5/4, if anybody's familiar with Sting, he does a lot of stuff in 5/4. So interestingly, you don't really notice it, but so that's how you change your time signature. You can also set up custom time signatures. And you can type in anything you want within reason. Like I said, I'm not going to get too in depth into that because it's music theory, and we're not going to talk about that. All right, now we're finally going to edit my wonderful performance of Mary Had a Little Lamb. So you're going to open the piano roll. It should already be open by double-clicking on the MIDI track, or I showed you various ways to do that. Since we're going to be editing MIDI notes, make sure that the notes are selected up here in your piano roll. So should look like this. And notice that the piano roll has a grid. You can move the MIDI notes vertically, which changes the pitch, and horizontally, which moves the timing. So for this, I'm going to make sure that quantize is off for now. So you can actually grab the note and move it up and down. And if you're not sure that you put it right in the right place, hit Command Z. It will put it in the right place. Or you can move it you can move it horizontally and move the timing, which we are going to do more precisely in just a minute. So that's with the time quantize grid off. You can move them. Now you can also change the velocity of the notes. I'm reading from my notes here. So to edit velocity, all you have to do is select a note. And if you'll notice, if you hover your mouse over a note, it will give you the pitch and the velocity. Remember, I said the keyboards are numbered as well as velocity. So in this case, it's telling me my pitch is a G3 and my velocity is a 96. So if you look, C4, C5, C6, all the keyboards are numbered and velocity is numbered. So remember that a zero velocity would be no volume. Well, let's do this and see what this sounds like with no volume. Some patches are going to respond better to this than others. So let's see what the piano patch does. We go down to 1. Well, we can't go down to 0 in this case. And notice there's no volume when I click on it. Click on the next one, I get volume. So if I select this note again, put it back up to like 72, I'll now hear it. And the reason you would change velocities is because basically it would sound very robotic if you didn't change velocities. Humans don't play things exactly the same volume all the time. Also be aware that if you're going to buy a MIDI keyboard, some keyboards are velocity sensitive, meaning the harder you press it, the louder the note, and some are not. So be aware of that if you ever decide to buy a MIDI keyboard. All right, next on our hit parade here is fixing the timing. So for this one, we're going to switch to, first thing you want to do is make sure you have no notes selected for this. So I'm going to unclick this. I will click away from it so it's not selected. And I'm going to switch to region. And for those of you that read music, you can hear that this performance even if you don't read music, you can hear that the performance is pretty bad. So rhythmically. So if I go to score up here, it will actually show you what the notation will look like. So if I look at this, reading this, for those of you that read music, is pretty difficult to do because the timing is so bad. So we are going to fix this in the piano roll. So first thing we want to do is we're going to apply time quantize right here. If you notice right now it's set to 16th note, but all that I played here were quarter notes. So I'm going to go up here and I'm going to select quarter note from the pull up or pull down menu, depending on where you approach it from. And you'll notice that when I did that, maybe you didn't catch it, but all my timing, let's undo it. So you can see that now it's going to move back, and then watch this area right here. And then when I go to quarter note up here, my timing is going to move. And if we play it, the timing should be relatively, well, it's going to be better. Okay, might be some things that I want to change in this. And now if you look at the score, okay, it's much easier to read. Okay, so let's look at this. Yep, 0, we'll hear it again. Now right here, I want to move all this over for now. And I'm going to move it over to the next beat. So now it sounds a little bit more like Maria Lamb. And this came in too soon. So I'm going to move this over. And again, it's snapping to the grid of quarter notes. So this, I would probably move, whoops, not everything, undo. I'll just select the last note and I'll move it here. See what that sounds like. Sick of this song yet? Perfect. And these notes are, you know, what I refer to as clams. So I want to get rid of it. So I'm just going to select the note, hit delete, select the note, hit delete. Now when I listen to the whole performance, last time, promise. I lied. I'll play it one more time. I'm going to turn on the metronome here. And now if you listen to this with the metronome on, you'll notice that all the beats are lining up exactly where they should be. You get the idea. I don't want to hear this anymore. So that's how you fix the timing. So let's see what's next on our hit parade. Covered all that. All that. All right. So humanizing the performance. We have this ability in GarageBand to make it sound less, rigid, like a computer's playing it, and more like a human's playing it. And that is done by this strength bar. And you're going to have to experiment with this. I'm not a fan of this, but Logic has a similar thing that's a lot better. But if you drag this, 100% is going to basically give you this robotic computer performance. And if you switch this, if you start moving this towards 0, you're gonna, all right, so here's 100%, you've heard it. Now let's move it to 0. And now you hear it get a little more sloppy, for lack of a better word. See, timing's off. So what you want to do is experiment with this somewhere around maybe 72 up. Less, sounding a little. And you can also extend these notes by turning the, just by clicking and dragging them and extending them this way, because you wanted this a little longer at the beginning. Looks like this note could be longer. You get the idea. So you can basically take a MIDI performance and edit it to make it sound perfect using some of these tools that you find here. All right, next we're going to talk about transposing. So we're going to go back to our region, make sure nothing is selected here. We're going to go back to our region menu up here, and you have this transpose button. And again, I'm not going to go too far in depth in this, and I'll tell you why I don't like this method in just a minute. So if I keyboard, I'm trying to figure out how a way to describe this in non-musical terms. Let's see what I did here. If you look at a keyboard, you have white notes and black notes. The notes closest together are divided into twelfths. So in this case, if I grab this and move this down a semitone, I'm going down in half steps or down to the closest notes on the keyboard. Not doing a great job of explaining this visually. Here we go. So notice that these two notes are close together and these two notes are close together. So now I'm going down in increments of 1, -1, -2, -3, -4. And so if I put this down 12 steps, it will now sound 1 octave lower. Those of you who read music, you'll hear it when you play it. And here's the original with no transposition. Now, what I don't like about this is you're basically looking at notes that are sitting, in the B3, C3 range. And when I put it down 12 steps, you're looking at the same notes, but it's sounding down an octave. And you notice when I click on the note, it still says B3, even though now it's technically B2. So an easier way to do this, for me anyway, is to just grab all the notes by going Command A, and you notice that it switched back to the notes, and we're going to put our quantizing to quarter note again because I want it still on the grid. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to grab these notes and move it down from B3 to B2. Make sure they're all selected. And you can just watch the graph go down or use your ears. And now I'm down to B2, so now I've taken it down an octave. And if I undo it, we're back up to the original performance. All right, so fantastic. And we're sick of Mary Had a Little Lamb. I'm really sick of Mary Had a Little Lamb. But that gives you an idea of how you can edit a MIDI performance and make it, virtually perfect, right? So, okay, onward. Hope this helped.